Faisal, how, if at all, does grandiosity relate to ego deficiency?
I think it's very much related to the ego deficiency. I think grandiosity is like a compensation, you know, for to compensate for the feeling of deficiency by inflation or deflation. You know, sometimes I'm the best in the West or the worst of the worst. You know, it depends on which fixation, which situation. And it is this feeling of deficiency is the attempt of the ego trying to reach the pinnacle of something. If it reaches that pinnacle of that frequency, it will make it happen. How is that? Let's take again, for example, the 4 in the Enneagram. The 4 believe that their ego is their point of light. They really believe that they are genuine, authentic person. They're not. They're fake.
And you can speak from experience.
I don't know about that much. I mean, it was so deflating, you know, but somehow I was angry at my ego, and that helped me. Because I thought, you know, even if this is my real self, I don't want it. At that time, I didn't know even there is point of light, that there is a real self. So the ego, the 4 is trying so hard, you know, to be authentic, to be real. They're constantly polishing the mask. They're trying so hard to prove they are genuine, they are authentic. No matter how genuine the 4 fixation trying to be, it remains zirconium, if not a piece of glass. You can upgrade the piece of glass and make it zirconium, close to the point of light, but no cigar. It's not the point of light. The point of the point of light is something sometimes so disappointing for the ego, you know? Like sometimes the ego expects the point of light to be this star and can do anything, and you know, the Peter Pan, and I can shine over the rainbow, and the point of light comes as a sweet lightness in the heart, joy, simple humanness, you know. And sometimes the ego get so disappointed, it fights the point of light. And the super ego even attacks more, because saying, look, that's what you are. Is this what you've been, you know, wanting to be? And I've been trying to make you to be better. You know? So the ego, in the attempt to reach it's whatever it wants, whatever it idealizes, you know, whether knowledge for the 5, you know, you see 5, like they have, I don't know, 3, 4, sometimes 3, 4 PhDs, and knowledge is beyond imagination. Yeah. And they are always upgrading and upgrading knowledges and more weaving, and deep inside, you know, they feeling deficient, as we said. It's a compensation for the lack of knowing. Knowing doesn't come from knowledge. Knowing comes from a diamond within our soul, within our being. You know, when you have this diamond, you feel you know, even though you might not have the knowledge. You know, like babies come to the room and they look and they know without knowing. They see, they differentiate, you know. There is the direct sense of knowing. So the 5, for example, or 6, they try to cultivate so much knowledge in order to sharpen their ego, you know, to inflate it to the extent that someday it will become a diamond. And again, no cigar. I don't even know the meaning of this expression. It's just, it doesn't become a diamond entity, you know. So grandiosity is an attempt to upgrade whatever the ego is trying to do in order to reach the authentic quality that it's trying to find. For a 4, try to find the point of light. For a 2, try to find gold, chandelier, sweet love, you name it. I explained it. And
will you go through the rest of the numbers?
Oh, okay. Let's say start. Yes. When for in the Enneagram, they're trying to reach the appreciative love. They're always trying to be good and appreciative and love of goodness. So That way they think if they love enough, they will reach perfection. You know? So they exaggerate in that, trying to be loving, because they get angry, then they feel short from that. They get black, then they feel, the super ego beat the hell out of them. They feel, they fell from perfection. Two idealizes sweetness, golden love, and the ability to be the pliable one. They can be anything you want them to be, loving and caring, and they are all for you. Gold is all for you. The chandelier is all for you, but not the two. The two gives a little and takes a lot. It's a bargain. So it's not a genuine, authentic love. But they have that. They try in, but no matter what they do, there is always a need in the ego to want something. And the moment they feel that one thing, they feel short. They fall short from the idealization of wanting to be so generous and so loving. The three trying to be the achiever, the doer, the generator, the one that can, ask them to do it and they will do it. Be a baseball player, they will be a tennis player, they will be, you name it, they will do it.
Sounds slightly familiar.
Yes, it's familiar. And they really, amazingly, they can wind up their system in a way to become that, It might cost them their life. They might get exhausted. They drop out of fatigue. The adrenals might shut down. But they're going to do it, And what they are doing, they are trying to reach the vehicle of atmos generating and capacity and manifestation. And that's the quality of the stupa. And it's a particular kind of stupa. It's a stupa that has personalness in it. So it's a pearly kind of a stupa. They want to be personal, but at the same time professional. So how can I be, this and that at the same time? Optimum efficiency and, all of the friendliness and coziness and contactfulness. Skillful, amazing, they do a good job, but again, it doesn't reach the pinnacle. So they sometimes push and they become grandiose, and some of them, you see them, some of those characters are in some of the movie characters and all of those things, you see some of them are like unbelievable. You can't even be close to them. They become so unreal, but they are excellent actors. They can play any role, They wind up to be a false stupa that can be adapting to any role. The real stupa is the system, the human system, able to disintegrate and integrate again, formulating itself in different ways needed for the situation. To be a mother, I need to formulate my body and my structure, psyche, mind in a different way to be a mother. And if I want to be tennis champ, I formulate my structure to be that. And if I want to be a friend, I can shape shift inside. I can change my mold, my structure, my identity in a way that I can be really an amazing real person in different situations. But this is not for show, this is not for entertainment, this is an authentic way of shape-shifting.
Being able to form and dissolve boundaries in a healthy way.
In a healthy way and regroup, differently. And willing to be differently and not attached to your identity of self. This identity of self goes away and you become a self that is forever and ever changeable, and it's always you, the same. You and not you. You're changing, but you are, when you're tennis player, you are tennis player, and when you are a mother, you are a mother, and it's you. You didn't lose, you didn't dissociate, but you take on different form and different identities. This is skillful. This is really amazing capacity. 4, as I said, they want to be the authentic self, the genuine self. They really think they are the point of light. They're not. They're imitations, and they're fake. And when you expose them, they get wounded and hurt, and nobody see me, and everybody see you. You are not that what you're claiming to be. That's all. So when they get over that narcissism and that hurt, then the grandiosity begin to deflate and become more reasonable and looking at the obsessiveness of the ego with what it's trying to do, you know. And instead of trying to make it to be the point, you try to find the point, you know. As somebody said, instead of paving the roads with rubber, make a pair of shoes. Much easier. You know? So each fixation trying to pave the roads with rubber instead of just make, you know, or leather, and just make a pair of shoes and walk. The 5, as I said, is about knowledge. They're trying to reach the diamond consciousness. 6 is about courage, about impeccability, you know, and they are scared rabbits. They are really so scared, you know, so terrified, and they you know, use brilliancy and knowledge to walk the walk and to be impeccable, but their impeccability is really coming from rigidity, from defensiveness. They take the most defensive stand in existence, and it's so powerful, it can break a mountain, you know, but after they break the mountain, they might collapse and die. It doesn't work that way, you know. So the iron defense in the system is so severe, it exhausts the system, because the system is constantly generating fear. It depletes the adrenal gland, the kidneys, you know, and they suffer a lot from the kidneys and large intestines. This, once they realize they're trying to be this impeccable warrior, the brave win, you know, and they don't realize that when the going get tough, the tough runs. The tough shakes in its boot. They think, no, the tough has to change. You know, they lose the sense of humanness and, as I said, healthy fear, healthy vulnerability. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to surrender. It's okay to feel we are helpless sometimes. You know, we're human. 7 goes into the grandiosity. 7 is famous for grandiosity, which is inflation. They always trying to inflate their mind to see the bigger picture of the universe, of the cosmos, you know. And they always want to know the cosmic plan. And they always come with one plan after another, you know. And I had a friend of mine who was 7, who was like from Kuwait, and he used to come visit me here in Berkeley, you know. And he was millionaire, he was rich, and there was a little cafe in Berkeley, and he wanted to stay in Berkeley, buy a house and stay, because all his friends and brothers are here, and he didn't know how to get his green card, you know. So every time he comes, he goes to this cafe, and he said, why don't I buy this cafe? You know, it wasn't expensive for him, like 100,000, he could buy it. He could employ 2-3 employees, and he will get his green card, you know. They say, oh, the idea is so good. Now he comes in the summer from Kuwait. He is exhausted from Kuwait, excited about Berkeley, and he's going to now find the plan. And the plan is, again, the same cafe. He's going to buy it because it's right next to his house, you know, because he doesn't want to go far away. And it starts with this aspiration. The flame kindles in him. Then the cosmic mind starts to open. Then he begins to think, you know, what does it take to run the cafe? And we tell him, don't think about it, hire a manager. You know, but he cannot, he gets obsessed. Then he think about how many gallons of milk to buy, how many cheeses, and by the end of the summer, the whole simple plan becomes a cosmic plan, calculations, and he doesn't buy it. Years like this, he comes and goes. So the 7 is always looking for one system or another to explain existence and the phenomena, the diamond approach, the diamond logos, the Vajrayana. I mean, systems in the spiritual journey have no end. So they're trying to reach a quality we call the diamond dome. The diamond dome is a quality on top of the head. And when you have it, it gives you the mind in the presence, not the mind of information and system. The mind that look at every situation from so many different angles, you know, like, you know, look at this, you know. One side is Tara, you know, the other side is Buddha, you know. It's very beautiful, you know. It's like somebody creative took a cup and made something beautiful about it. It's a quality that sees you the bigger picture and bring the creativity. But when it gets inflated, it goes from one system after another. And those, you know, those people starve for knowledge about the bigger picture, you know. So they come study the diamond approach at 2-3 years, they got it, you know. They didn't get anything, but they got it.
Mm-hmm.
They leave and they go study approach, diamond approach, and they go study this. I mean, you name it. The dilemma with them is that they're starving in their guts. And the small intestine and the digestive system, it's starving, it's weak. And they take the juice from the guts and feed the top of the head to have ideas and knowledges, you know. So their grandiosity is that if they figure out the cosmic plan, then God will rest and they will rest and then everything will run perfectly. You know? And since the cosmic plan forever changing, you know, you can imagine the failure of that approach. You know? 9 want to be ordinary.
Eight.
Oh, sorry, 8. 8 want to be the masters. They want to be the powerhouse. They want to be the one who can be so, I don't know, like champions and powers and stand for justice and stand for the weak and do all of those things. And I remember one of the most amazing thing happened at one time was a fight between Muhammad Ali Clay, you know, and Joe Fraser. You know, they had, I think, three fights, 15 bouts. They broke every bone in each other's faces and heads. Vicious, 2 beats beating each other, trying to prove who is the ultimate mighty champ. Well, you are just a human body. You know, you beat it up after some time. Muhammad Ali became, you know, like died out, you know, I don't know, Parkinson, all of those things. So the 8 get inflated and they get intoxicated with power. With the quality of essence, we call it the wine of essence, pomegranate, which is red and black essence. Black erases the fearful mind, and red brings the ferocious tiger courage. You just rush. The combination of the two is deadly.
No.
You know, deadly. So they indulge in lustfulness and aggression and destruction and fighting for justice by killing them. You know, right? I fight for God by killing the infidels, or killing the Christians, killing the Muslims killing the Jews killing the, I mean, you name it. You know, all fighting for the God, and God probably crying, sitting on the throne, like, what they doing in his name or her name? You know. So 8 is that power, driven by this power. And they want to reach the ultimate power. And they think the ultimate power is somehow associated with biological power. You know, the body, they are very strong body, and they are all of those things, you know, remarkable in their strength of their body, but they overlook the human vulnerability. You know, they don't allow this delicacy. The 8 from the outside is a tank, and inside this is a delicate drop of honey. And they are building the tank to feel safe, to protect the drop of honey, instead of letting the drop of honey come out. And nothing can harm or touch this drop of honey. The drop of honey is sweet, golden love, cannot be touched. But the child got hurt, and they confused the essence of when they were a child with the harm that came to them. The gold was not touched, but the child ego was hurt. The body ego of the child hurt. And they think then the essence should be protected. Essence should not be protected. Not that way. Essence is to be allowed, and that's the protection. You know? And of course, the holy laws, thou shalt not kill, so everybody can let love and let live, but essence cannot be damaged. Essence is undamageable. What is damageable is our connection to it. We lose the connection to it. Our gold is still gold, maybe buried deep inside. Our light is still light. You know, it doesn't get damaged. The world cannot touch this. You know, but it blocks us from living it or being it. So the 9 is ultimately want to be just normal. You say, okay, I am okay, you're okay, everybody's okay. Let's just be okay. Forget about you being special. I forget about being special. But deep inside, they are the most narcissist. You know, they are, I wish somebody sees me. I wish, you know, and then they go into, oh, well, this is my way. This is the way. So they use the habitual pattern, you know, the American way, the Kuwaiti way, the family way, this way. to make it, this is normal. This is normalcy. So they replace the absolute with habitual pattern.
Identities.
And they deny the existence of a unique self, because that means this is narcissism and vanity, So they try to make themselves feel, I'm really nobody. I'm just your friendly Joe neighbor, all of those things. They're good, but when you really begin to shake them a little bit and begin to try to let them be loose and open, then you feel you are changing me. I don't want to change. You need to accept me. This is how I am. And this is how the universe is, And who do you think that Kuwait, that the people are different from being Kuwaiti? Or, or anybody could eat anything different from the American way of eating, Really, we get so conditioned to what we think normalcy is, familiarity is, and what a self is. Then 9, deny the existence of a self for the sake of safety, but deep inside they are crystallized, and this is me. So they have a fake point of light,
So you pierce the false humility and the rigidity comes out.
Yes. Once you disturb the equanimity that they have, then you see them, they get mad and enraged and angry, become alcoholic, and you name it. So these are the 9 different ways of avoiding certain things and achieving certain things. And we might inflate them in order to make it real. Inflate information and knowledge to make a diamond. Inflate ego image, self-image to make a point. Inflate doer, becoming a doer, doing 10 things, in one lifetime, as a replacement of a stupa, pliable, juicy, lovely, as a replacement of the chandelier. So these are where it leads us to inflation. One way to deal with inflation, besides seeing it and doing ego reduction in the past, you could do ego reduction as a way to reduce inflation. I remember that Claudio, bless his soul, he departed. One of my teachers, Claudio Naranjo, he loved ego reduction. So he used to just do ego reduction as a way to reduce the ego from its inflation,
How?
Like the simple ways, becoming like a super ego. Who do you think you are? And what makes you think you know? What makes you think you're gonna get me by what I want by your activities? Who thinks your feelings are genuine? Who thinks that you really love? You think you really have a heart? And so many ways of ego reduction.
Would that be in a group setting or one-on-one?
Sometimes in a group setting, sometimes one-on-one. Sometimes people used it and they.
I bet.
Oh, they attacked each other. And especially I remember when they learned the Enneagram, they used it, say, oh, you're just a 4. Oh, no, you're just a 3. You're all fake, and then, oh, you are just rigid, empty 5. Nothing there, They used to attack each other. Yeah. So ego reduction is like when the inflation comes and when the person comes overconfident, in their way, sometimes the fixation comes overconfident. You begin to show with that, no, this is not the way it is, you have your way of seeing, I have my way, the other person have their way. In fact, how the diamond approach in the beginning unfolded is that we were coming from 3 corners. I was heart-oriented, Hamid was head-oriented, Karen was belly-oriented, and each thing we see, we present it differently. I see it one way, Hamid see it another, Karen see it another, and from that, we say then it must be seen through a variety of ways. And instead of clashing, there was a humility to say, well, if I see it this way, it must be true. But if you see it that way, it also must be true. And that way how the knowledge expanded. Otherwise, it would have been only this way. And that's when I left the school, when this attitude came, at that time, that only the absolute is the answer and the way, I left the school. I felt it has become now rigid. But before, no, it was open to seeing different facets, different ways of becoming it. So one way is the ego reduction for the inflation. The other way is inflate. Use inflation to inflate your inflation to the maximum till it pops up. You know? And the reason for that, that every grandiosity is a lot less than the grandness of what it's trying to do. Like if you think about the grandiosity of the seven, wanting to know the cosmic mind, you know, and to see all the facets and the knowledges, all of that, to use the intellectual mind, to use the broad mind and the theories, it is so regressed, it is so slow thinking, it is so, I mean, how many theories can you bring at one time and see them at the same time and weave them, you know? It's very obsolete. It's like an old, funky, clunky computer, you know, or phone compared to the modern phones and modern computers nowadays. The essence is grand, while grandiosity is imitation of the grandness. It's an attempt to reach the grandness. Essence is really more grand than any grandiosity. Essence is more dazzling, more real, more beautiful than any imagination, any grandiosity could fake it. When you bring all the theories about the universes and systems and physics and spirituality and try to weave them, you might end up with encyclopedia of knowledges. But it's dull, it's boring, it's caused dull dome in the head. Your head feels thick and dull, you know. But if you have the diamond dome, you feel fresh, you feel that all those are theories. Reality is shining now at the moment. All the knowledge that you seek is right here. The absolute is here, the essential state is here, the accessibility of knowledges are here. You don't need to know all of those things. If you need, you can even now Google anything you need. You can get information. You know? Before you have to go to China, now you can just, you know. So the inflation, let's say, of the seven to reach this cosmic dome, the aspiration, is nothing compared to the diamond dome. When the diamond dome comes, you feel as if your mind is able to look at every situation from so many facets, you know, and weaving so many things and opening to the universe to channel through you knowledges and perceptions you haven't seen. You know, it's really a dazzling experience, and the point of light compared to the ego. This I, me and myself and oi. It's just ridiculous. When I hear force like that, I say, give me a break. What are you yelling about? You are fake. Yes, you're not who you are. You know? And when the point comes, they become so sweet, so delightful, so like, oh, so, you know, like the artist emerges, the creator emerges, so delightful. But it's not grandiose, but it's more grand than any ego can reach in its grandiosity, you know. And the three with all their fakeness and power and doing these things, and by the end of the day, they're wiped out. They're exhausted, maybe by the end of the week, let's say, you know, or the end of the month, you know. While if you are in the stupa, you are like gracefully spinning inside, like a prayer wheel, generating beauty, richness, energy, love, action, inspiration, relatedness, dancing with the others. You are not alone, you know, John Wayne walking in the sunset all alone at the end of the movie. You are a relational person. So the grandiosity is an imitation to reach the grandness. And essence is true grandness, you know. So you could inflate grandiosity till it pops up. When it pops up, you feel the whole of the quality you are looking for. If you inflate the self to the maximum, you discover, I feel nothing. I am really nothing. It was just a tension in my heart, and I was saying, I, you know. But when the tension released, when I inflated it and it released, I feel hollow in my chest. And if I feel the emptiness, then the self has a chance to come. Then I feel the presence of delightful being in the heart, or diamond shining above my head, or fullness in my body. So grandiosity can be used as a way of inflation to reach the grand, because beyond the grandiosity is a grandness. And reality is really grand, is majestic, is so beautiful.
Thank you, Faith.